Today on Politics Unplugged, Governor Hobbs kicks off the 2026 legislative session next week with her annual State of the State speech. We speak with her. Plus, with another wild week of news coming out of Washington, our panel breaks down the latest political news you might have missed here in Arizona. Now on Politics Unplugged.
Good evening. I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. And the legislative session starting this week will be a big one for Governor Katie Hobbs. She wants to forward her agenda while also making a push for a re-election in November. I spoke with her for a preview of the coming session. All right, Governor, thank you very much for being here today. Obviously, it's a very big week, kicking off in your fourth legislative session.
Yes.
Already, and you're going to have the big State of the State speech. We're going to be talking in depth about what your agenda is, what's going to be in that speech. But first, I want to get your reaction to the big national news this week coming out of Minneapolis, where we saw a woman shot and killed by an ICE agent there during an immigration enforcement operation. So if we can get your thoughts on that first.
Look, I saw the video of what happened, and it's horrific and tragic. There are 3 kids without a mom now, and my heart goes out to the community that has already experienced a lot of just upheaval in recent years. And so I hope there's a full investigation and that there is accountability for what happened.
Okay, and we have seen, I know you're aware, there are reports, at least one report, that ICE, the administration, has picked Phoenix as the next area of its increased ICE operations. Have you had any communication with the White House about this? Have you reached out to the White House to talk about this?
We have spoken to the administration, and what I can say right now is this is all rumor and speculation. We're not going to act on rumor and speculation. We have no confirmation that this is actually the case. And if there is something to report, I want to make sure that we share with Arizonans what we know so that they have the right information. Okay,
and is there a plan in place? Have your people talked about what happens if they do target Phoenix, if ICE does come here with one of their increased operations, about how to handle that situation?
Obviously, we've watched what's happening around the country, and we've seen that when this kind of escalation happens, I don't know what the intent is, but it doesn't seem to be making communities safer. In fact, it seems to increase risk for communities. And so we're certainly talking to Department of Public Safety, the National Guard, and putting plans in place should this kind of escalation happen in Arizona.
Yeah, and finally, the president keeps saying he's surprised that more governors, more mayors don't want his help, welcome his help. I'll just ask you directly, do you want ICE to come here with an increased operation? Do you think that is what's needed here in Phoenix, or do you think they should stay away?
Here's what I will say. I welcome law enforcement support when it makes us safer. I have worked with the federal government at our state border, working to interdict drugs, go after the criminals who are harming our communities, and we've had a lot of good results from those operations. I want the administration to focus on activities that are keeping our communities safer, and trumped up mass deportation, indiscriminate roundups of people for political points is not that.
Okay, it sounds like you don't want to see that. If you put those two together, you welcome law enforcement if it keeps communities safer, but you do not think these operations make communities safer, so you would like to see them stay away from Phoenix for now, correct?
I want them to do their job and focus on going after the criminals, which is what Donald Trump promised when he ran for president.
Okay, let's switch gears now. Let's talk a little bit about this week. Again, your fourth legislative session. You're heading into this. It's a political year. You're looking for a
well, there's always politics, Dennis.
There's always, I know, shocking. There's politics at the legislature. But this is the last session you kick off before there's an election in November. Let's talk about broad terms. What's going to be laid out? What's the agenda? What are we going to hear from Governor Hobbs in her State of the State speech come Monday?
So last year I focused on the Arizona promise of security, opportunity, and freedom, and you'll hear a lot more of that. We still have work to do to deliver that for Arizonans, and you'll hear a heavy emphasis on lowering costs and affordability. And I'm honestly really encouraged to hear that that is the top of the Republicans' agenda as well. I think there are things that I'll lay out when it comes to tax cuts, lowering energy costs, building more affordable housing, that we can find common ground and get over the finish line.
Yeah, and speaking about affordability, I think one of the first big fights, I mean, it's the fight you won or the negotiation you won, however you want to frame this, is going to be this tax issue. Previously, about a month or so ago, you've laid out your plan for what you've called the middle class tax cuts. And it's certain measures from the Trump tax plan. Republicans have now laid out their tax plan, and they want the full menu of Trump tax cuts. Some tweaks here and there with that. Do you expect they're going to send that to you? If they send you all those tax cuts, including the ones you don't want, are you going to sign that, or are you going to veto it?
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that. I think we can all agree that Arizonans are struggling. They deserve to take advantage of these tax cuts, and we should implement them as quickly as possible so that Arizonans who are filing right now get that in their 2025 tax filings. I've asked for that to be the first bill sent up to me. There's a big price tag. You'll see in my budget how we plan to pay for that. But the additional tax cuts that benefit billionaires and corporations, those have a bigger price tag. And we are faced with a difficult budget year. And we need to talk in budget talks about how we're going to pay for all of that if that's what we want to do. Yeah,
because your plan, what you're calling for, is roughly half of what the full implementation of the Trump tax plan is. You're looking around $250 million, give or take, about that. Again, you said you were going to see how you plan to pay for it in the budget. Can you give us any examples, any hint of how you're going to? Because that is a big that is a big price tag for this bill, considering where the state is financially right now.
Well, one of the other things that was in H.R. 1 was a reimbursement to states for expenses going back to 2021 for border security. We have sent a bill in excess of $700 million, and that's a big part of balancing the budget. I know that the Republicans are also counting on that for some of their priorities, and so we're going to continue to press the administration for how they're going to send those reimbursements to the state. But we also are looking at ways that we can create more efficiency in government, and there are ways to do that. Not talking about a Doge kind of response here, but certainly we can look at ways to just create more efficiencies, and we're actively implementing some of those strategies right now.
And again, just if you could explain again, you've told me previously that you are open to signing tax cuts that would benefit the wealthier Arizonans if Republicans can find a way to pay for this. Is
we
this
have
correct?
to negotiate it in the budget, and there's a lot.
But you don't want to negotiate right here on television?
No.
Come on. And we'll have more from the governor, including her thoughts on how to make housing more affordable when Politics Unplugged continues. Welcome back to Politics Unplugged. Housing figures to be a key topic in the coming legislative session. Here's more of my interview with Governor Hobbs. Another big issue when it comes to affordability. I mean, housing is a thing. You are going to be laying out some agenda items in your speech this week. What are those when it comes to housing? So
a couple of things. First of all, the Housing Acceleration Fund, which we plan to kickstart with a $2.5 million down payment. We've talked to that this will be a public-private partnership where housing developers can get a lower interest rate to accelerate the pace that they can build housing, workforce housing, and for every dollar invested, there'll be a $10 return. We've talked to some private partners that are interested in partnering, and we'll have more announcements about that soon.
How would that bring down help with housing? What would that do?
It would accelerate the ability let builders finance at a lower rate, and
so they increase the housing stock.
Yeah, Yes.
and to lower all that. There's also, I saw something, you spoke about a fee on short-term rentals that are going to go help people to afford their housing costs, like utility bills and maintenance and stuff like that. Explain that a little bit.
So that's the second thing. So that's the Arizona Affordability Fund, particularly targeted at energy costs. We know that's a huge expense for households. So this would be a $3.50 fee on short-term rentals, so less than a cup of coffee a day for folks who are visiting our state. And that would go into a fund that would, first of all, help folks who are struggling with utility bills, similar to federal funding that we already get, but expanding the level of eligibility for that funding. And then secondly, for home weatherization. So folks that want to make improvements to their home that create energy efficiencies, which will not just help with the cost to do that, but lower their energy bills down the road.
Okay, and that's very helpful for people with their current housing costs. Let's talk about families trying to buy homes, people out there. That's a big issue. Let me ask you kind of the philosophical question first, and then we'll get into some of this. Do you think families out there, looking to buy a single-family home should be competing against hedge funds, Wall Street firms, against that? If a family is competing against a big Wall Street firm like that or a corporation, what do you think happens?
Well, I think that's certainly an issue that we're seeing. I have seen that it looks like there's going to be legislation trying to address that. So I'm looking forward to having those conversations during
legislation here on the state level.
I think either I've seen legislation proposed or it's rumored to be proposed.
Well, I know that President Trump has talked about moving forward and trying to ban Wall Street firms from buying single-family homes. And I was just going to ask you on a follow-up, is there something from your office that you can facilitate, that you're pushing for, to try to keep these corporations, these hedge funds out of the market? I know it's a tricky policy situation, but it is an issue because I believe as of 2022, 15% of the housing stock in Arizona was owned by some form of a corporation, and that is driving up costs. Yeah,
so not a specific policy from my office, but I think that we're going to see that this legislative session, and I'm willing to work with anyone on good ideas that help lower costs of housing for Arizonans.
All right. And also data centers is another big issue. We've seen some controversy there recently in Chandler with, Kirsten Sinema was lobbying for some of that stuff down there. It got shot down. The controversy there is that data centers going up, they demand a lot of power. They suck up a lot of water and resources. You want to try to curb this.
Yeah.
And how is that?
Well, so right now, taxpayers are subsidizing data centers. A while back, the state decided strategically to create a tax incentive for data centers. We've been really successful at that. We are the top 2 market in the world for data centers. And I'm not saying they should go away. They've created a lot of jobs. They're an important part of the future economy that we're building in Arizona with high tech and advanced manufacturing. But they are using a lot of power and water at taxpayers' expense. So first of all, I'm proposing to eliminate the tax incentive for data centers. And secondly, implementing a data center water usage fee that will fund a Colorado River Protection Fund. For everyone who has a home and they pay a water bill, they're paying about a penny a gallon for water. And data centers should be doing the same. Okay, I know we're kind of running out of time here, but I did want to get a couple of political questions in here real quick. You are the leader of the Arizona Democratic Party. You're heading into a tough re-election fight. We know just by the numbers and the recent history of Arizona that these statewide races are close. Your last race was close. Other races statewide are close. Are you worried, and are you doing anything to address the massive voter registration disadvantage that the Democratic Party, your party, faces now with Republicans, which is basically the Republicans have over 300,000 more registered voters than your party does right now? What I'm focused on is leading the state in a way that tackles our challenges, and I'll work with anyone to do that, Republican or Democrat. A lot of the challenges we're facing are not Republican or Democrat, and I know that I've worked across the aisle a lot, and I'm going to continue to do that and make the case to voters that I'm a pragmatic leader that will get things done for the betterment of Arizona.
And final question here. I know you've been giving a lot of interviews about this, and your political opponent Andy Biggs has been putting out some press releases, making some statements about that. One thing I did want to ask you about, because I know in your State of the State speech you're going to be talking a lot about affordability. So I did want to ask you about this. It seems like your opponent is attacking you for vetoing a bill back in 2023 that would have eliminated the grocery tax. Groceries has been a big issue. We saw that in 2024 in that election cycle. And I'll ask you now, do you regret vetoing that bill?
So that was part of a package of bills that also, there was the elimination of the rental tax. We did repeal the rental tax, and that was a huge hit to our cities who are also faced with trying to balance their budgets. And so what voters will be able to decide in November is repealing the food tax. And I'm glad they're going to have the opportunity to do that. The cities worked out a deal to address the harm that would the fiscal harm, and so voters are going to have that opportunity, and I am really glad that they'll have that.
All right, I want to thank you very much for stopping by here. Great talking with you, Governor. Good luck with the big State of the State speech.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm bringing in our panel to talk about all of this week's major headlines, including the deadly shooting of a single mother by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. That's next on Politics Unplugged.
A midnight raid in Venezuela, Republican resistance in the Senate, blood in the snow in Minneapolis. And that was only the first full week of the new year. This is your political roundup. American special forces snatched Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro at his compound and hauled him straight to New York in a fleece tracksuit. The strongman dictator is now staring down federal drug charges, while President Trump said the U.S. could end up running the country for years to come. Back in Washington, something unusual happened. Republican-controlled Senate showed some signs of rebelling against the White House. Lawmakers advanced a measure to limit Trump's Venezuela adventure. It may die later, but 5 GOP senators crossed the aisle to make it happen. On Capitol Hill these days, that might be considered a resistance movement. Meanwhile, the president can't quit Greenland. Trump renewed his interest in taking control of the Danish island and didn't immediately rule out military force to do it. One report says the White House is kicking around the idea of sending Greenlanders lump sum checks to move them toward cutting ties with Denmark. And finally, back here at home, federal agents fatally shot a 37-year-old mom and poet in Minneapolis during an immigration enforcement operation. Administration officials call her a domestic terrorist. State and local officials call it murder. And that was your political roundup.
And let's bring in our panel now. Democratic consultant Don Penich and Republican Marcus Dell'Artino. Thanks for being here. A lot happening this week. I just want to get your kind of reaction on what happened in Minneapolis, given the fact that there are reports that Phoenix could be the next stop for these ICE enforcement operations. I mean, what's the sense there? What are people thinking about this? What are they saying? You know, how's the reaction going to be here?
Well, to be clear, ICE has been in Arizona and in Phoenix multiple instances already over the last several months, but the administration has said that we are a site for a future surge. The reaction that we're seeing amongst organizers, advocacy organizations, and regular citizens has been to record everything, to report everything, that we will not tolerate what has happened in Minneapolis, and to stay unified and loud in the face of this. So there is no sense that I'm seeing of people saying, you know, we got to stay home, you know, this was just business as usual. People are mad, and they are not planning on backing down.
Okay. And what are you hearing from the Republican side here? Is this something, a surge, a spike in enforcement here? Is this something that Republicans are going to be welcoming?
Well, I certainly think Republicans will be welcoming it, and I think Democrats will be unwelcoming of it. I think, you know, you can't rush to judgment in this particular instance. If you just suppose this against Portland that just happened a couple days ago, where you have 2 gang leaders or members of gang operations trying to kill an ICE officer, you know, every instance is going to be different. And I'm saddened by the fact that it's a mother and a U.S. citizen that went through this, of course. But you know, the rumor mill is running really hot right now that they're coming to Phoenix next, and we're going to have to see. And I beg for the patience of Arizona citizens to deal with this.
All right, let's talk about the governor. The legislature's ramping up this coming week. What is she going to be able to get done? I mean, its first fight in the legislature is obviously going to be this tax issue. The governor's calling this going to be a negotiation. Governor wants about $250 million in tax cuts. Republicans want a bigger tax package tied to Trump's tax plan. What do you think is going to end up there?
Well, I think that ultimately in an election year, the governor is going to have to do some compromising, and there will be some compromising on both sides. She has been very clear that she doesn't want to go beyond tax cuts for the middle class, for working Arizonans. She is absolutely going to fight against these corporate tax cuts, billionaire tax cuts, and all of this will play out. But, to her office's point, most Arizonans are impacted by these tax codes very soon here, right around the corner. And so this needs to happen quickly. And when things happen quickly, usually that means that people are open to compromise.
All right, how do you see it playing out? Is this going to happen quickly?
I don't think it will, because here's what's interesting is that the Republicans just announced that they are going to take parts of conformity, so the tips, the overtime, those things that most Americans are well aware of, but anything that was tilted towards the wealthier Arizonans, meaning the SALT deduction, accelerated depreciation. I know I'm being a tax geek, but those things that would favor wealthier Arizonans out, but using the savings from that revenue to double down on middle class and lower class tax cuts, whether it was child care. There's a new deduction for child care. There was the child tax credit. There's deduction for interest on a new car loan because middle class Arizonans are not able to afford a car loan right now. There's a whole litany of things, senior tax cuts. So you're still at the same amount, that $450 that you mentioned, but not in the way that most Arizonans think that that's played, and it's targeted towards the middle class, which puts the Democrats and the governors in sort of a predicament.
And one of the things that seems like both sides can agree on is that one of the key issues this year is going to be affordability. Now, both sides have different ideas on what affordability means for Arizona citizens. I want to get your take. What do you think the governor can get done in terms of getting that agenda passed, what she wants to get done there?
Well, one thing that she'll be championing is a tax on short-term rentals and the revenue from that to go into things like the Housing Trust Fund. She's also got some very practical, ideas around lowering utility bills for Arizonans. And so this is something that we're going to hear from her all year long during her re-election campaign. And so she has to stack up some of those wins in these next handful of months.
Yeah, and is there area of compromise there when it comes to affordability between what the governor wants, what Republicans down at the legislature want?
Yeah, I think we're going to see it in the housing market. You just saw Donald Trump come out the other day and say, I don't want, large corporations, Blackstone's buying up thousands and thousands of Arizona houses to corporations that make it unaffordable for regular you and me to go out and buy a house. Same time, you've seen Democrats have been talking about this for the last at least couple of years, right, to Don's point. And so, what we've talked about, the political spectrum is not a straight line, it's a circle, and you're starting to see Democrats and Republicans rally around this issue.
All right, we got about 30 seconds left. What are we expecting to hear from the governor when she lays out her agenda? Because Monday is the broad vision. The following Friday, that's when she puts out the budget plan and how she's going to pay for all this. But what other themes are we going to hear on Monday?
Finalizing Prop 123, school funding, water security for our state, both Colorado River and in rural Arizona. I think those will be some top ones. And then, again, she will hammer affordability, maybe data centers.
All right, we're going to have to end it right there. That's all the time we have. But be sure to join us next week for more Politics Unplugged.